तो आज हमारा टॉपिक है टाइप्स ऑफ स्टैटिस्टिकल सीरीज. हाउ मेनी टाइप्स आर ऑफ a statistical series? You write down statistical series are of two types. One is individual series and the second is frequency series. Individual series is that series which is without frequency, the series which is without frequency, and the frequency series are those series which are having frequencies. So the frequency series is further divided into discrete series or frequency array and frequency distribution series. Thus, we can say that the statistical series are of three types. One is individual series, and the two are the types of frequency series. One is discrete series and continuous series. Thus, we can say statistical series are of three types, which you have to remember and study. So here, individual series. Number second is discrete series. And the third one is continuous series. Continuous series. So we have three types of series. Generally, if anybody says you how much are the types of series, how much types the series, statistical series are of. Statistical series are of three types. One is individual series, discrete series, and continuous series. So this series is also called frequency array. Frequency array. And this continuous series is also called frequency distribution series. Frequency distribution series. Frequency array or frequency distribution series. Thus, we can say statistical series are of three types: individual series, discrete series, and continuous series. You write down these three types. Then I will proceed to the next step of this question, that is, what is individual series? What is individual series? The statistical series are of three types: individual series, discrete series, and continuous series. Discrete series is also called frequency array, and continuous series is also called frequency distribution series. Now you take first, what is individual series? What is individual series? What is individual series? So that series in which values are shown separately and the values have no frequency, that series is called individual series. That series in which values of a variable are shown separately or singly, अलग अलग जिसमें values दिखाई दिए हो. That means they are not shown in groups. Values are shown separately. One value have no relation with another value. So this is also called ungrouped data. कभी कभी हम इसी को ungrouped data discrete भी आता है और individual भी आता है. So when that series in which the values of a variable are shown separately or singly and the values have no frequency and the values have no frequency, comma, it is called individual series. It is called individual series. Thus, that series in which values of a variable are shown separately or singly, and the values have no frequency, it is called a individual series. Thus, in this series, there is no class of values. In this series, there is no class of values. There is no class of values. So, for this series, when we look upon this series, there is no class of values. There is no class of, so values are singly shown, separately shown, no group of values. This series can be presented in two ways. How to present this, or example of this series, example of this type of series, this series. So we can do a demo. We can give two examples. Example A, the series can be like this. For example, we have roll number and we have marks. Number 1 or serial number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have marks. For example, for roll number 1, we have 30 marks. We have 25 marks. We have 15 marks. We have 5 marks. We have 45 marks. We have 40 marks. For example, we have 50 marks. The series can be like this. So these are the values of the variable. These are the values of, this is simply serial number. This is simply serial number. This is marks. So this is marks is variable, and these are the values of variable, and they are shown singly. There is no group of values at all. Example B can be like this. We have, for example, values of X or Y or Z. Values of X can be marks, X can be production, or X can be anything. We have 10, 5, 8, 7. We have, for example, 30. We have 35. So this series can be like this. Thus, these are the two forms of this individual series. Individual series, that series in which values are shown singly or separately. Singly or separately. So series, this is also called a series without frequency. This is also called a series without frequency. Series without frequency. Series without frequency. Let us take the next one, frequency series. Frequency series, as we know, we have two types, discrete series and continuous series. Discrete series and continuous. Let us take the next type of series. Second is a discrete series or frequency array. Frequency array. In this series, the values are shown separately like individual series, but each value have its frequency. In that individual series, the frequency was not shown for any value, but here for every value we have frequency. But similarity between individual series and discrete series, that the values are shown separately. So when individual values are arranged in ascending or descending order and each data have its own frequency. For example, we can when values of a variable are shown separately or singly, like that individual series, like separately or singly, and each value have its own frequency और एक वैल्यू की अपनी अपनी फ्रीक्वेंसी है, it is called a discrete series or frequency array. Also, in this series, the values are shown in ascending or descending order. Also, in this series, the values are shown in ascending or descending order. So, इसमें values ascending order या descending order में दिए हुए हैं. So when values are separately shown, there is no class of values, group of values. All values are shown singly, and every value have its own frequency, and the values have some order, either ascending order or descending order. So for example, if variable x, if we have a variable x, which is discrete, and each value of x has its own frequency, it is called a frequency array. In this series, we have no class interval. Thus, there is no class interval. Class interval. There is no class interval or group of values. No class interval or group of values. We can give example for this. Example of frequency. How to make a series of discrete nature or frequency array. किस तरह हम बनाएंगे? For example, we have marks of students and we have frequency. Each value have frequency, and we represent this frequency through tally bar. This is one of the way to show the frequency. एक तरीका है जिससे हम frequency दिखा सकते हैं. For example, marks are 11, 12, we have 14, we have 16, we have 17. So these are the values. These are the values. In the frequency, for example, 3, 1, 4, 2, 5. How to show the tally bar? Tally bar, when we draw 3 lines, this represents 3. 1 line represents 1, 2 lines represents 2. So this is tally bar. Here it is 1, this is like this. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 1 and 2. 5, 5 4 लाइनें डालनी है, फिर एक लाइन ऐसे डालना है. ये हो गया 5. How to show the tally bar? So this is all about the frequency array or discrete series. Frequency array or discrete series. When values of a variable are shown separately or singly, and each value have its own frequency. It is called discrete series or frequency array. In this series, the values are shown in ascending or descending order. Sometimes values are shown in ascending order like this. Sometimes they are shown in descending order, decreasing order. There is class interval or there is no class interval. Sorry, there is no class interval or group of values. No class interval or no group of values. There is no class interval or no group of values. This is an example of this discrete series. We have here marks and number of students or frequency. So each value has its frequency. 11 frequency is 3, 12 has frequency 1, 14 has frequency 4, and 16 has frequency 2, 17 has frequency 5. Now the last one is frequency distribution series, or whom we call the continuous series. Last one is frequency distribution series or continuous series. Frequency distribution or continuous series. What is this type of series? Here, the data are grouped data. The values are in groups. In this series, data are classified into different classes with a range of values. The range is called class interval. The number of times an item occurs is shown as frequency against a class interval to which that value belongs. In this series, items cannot be exactly measured. So we can write down in this series, in this type of series or in this series, the values are shown in groups or classes. Values are shown in groups or classes, and each group and each class or group have its own frequency. हर एक क्लास के लिए एक frequency है. So here in this series, the data are classified into different classes, or values are shown in different groups or different classes. The number of times an item occurs, the number of times an item occurs cannot be measured. So we cannot measure the number of times an item occurs. अगर हम देखना चाहते हैं कि एक आइटम कितने बार occur हुआ है, we are not able to know that. So we cannot measure the number of times an item occurs. हम वो measure नहीं कर सकते हैं. Thus, the number of times an item occurs is shown as frequency against the class interval to which that item belongs. So in this series, items cannot be exactly measured. The following table shows frequency distribution series. Thus, we can say that a series in which the values are shown in groups or classes and each group have its own frequency. Such a series is called frequency distribution series or continuous series. This series is this is also called grouped data. वो ungrouped है. Those two, individual and discrete, they are ungrouped data. Here data are in groups. What is the example for? क्या example है किस तरह हम पहचानेंगे कि ये series क्या continuous series. If we have series like this, we have marks, we have frequency, we have tally bar. For example, 0 to 5, here values are shown in groups. This is grouped data. 5 to 10, 10 to 15, 15 to 20, 20 to 25, 25 to 30. So here values are in groups. There is gap of 5. Sometimes it can be gap of 10, 20, 2, 1. The gaps can be different. The groups can be of different nature. Frequency, what is frequency? Frequency is the number of times a group, the values in this group occurs. How many values are in this group? कितने values इस group में है वो frequency दिखाता है. For example, here the value is 4, 5, 8, 5, 4, 2. For example, tally bar is 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 लाइनें डालनी है. 1, 2, 3, 4. ये है 5. इसी तरह आउटलाइन 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 5 इस तरह बनाना है. 3 और डालनी है. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So this is tally. This is tally bar. So that series in which values are shown in groups or classes, and each group have its own frequency. Each group have its own frequency. We can say this series is called continuous series or frequency distribution series. Here, a particular value cannot be, how many times a particular value occurred cannot be measured. We cannot measure, we cannot know how many times. Here we have, for example, 0 to 5, all the values between 0 and 5. This is 0, it is 1, it is 2, it is 3, it is 4, it is 4.5, up to this value. The frequency is 4 for these all values. So we cannot know how many times this 2 occurred, or 3 occurred, 4 occurred, or 4.5, or 0 occurred. We cannot. So this is the frequency array. Now the next one is, अब 3 सीरीज हमें खत्म हो गई. अब 1-2 टर्म्स में लिखाऊंगा आपको. You write down the first term. Now the question, we have ended the question. What is frequency? What is frequency? What is frequency? Frequency क्या हो? What is frequency? यहाँ लिखूंगा मैं. What is frequency? Frequency is the number of times an item occurs. The number of times an item occurs. An item occurs in a series. The number of times an item occurs in a series is called frequency. एक आइटम कितने बार सीरीज में आ गया, इसको कहते हैं frequency. In other words, the number of times a value is repeated in a population is called a frequency. In other words, the number of times a value is repeated. Value is repeated in the population is called a frequency. कितने बार ये वैल्यू इस सीरीज में आ गया, इसको कहते हैं हम frequency. For example, we have a series. For example, we have values of x and we have frequency. For example, value is 2 and its frequency is 9. It means 2 is 9 times in the series. 9 बार 2 आया है. 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. इसी तरह हम लिखेंगे 3. 3 is for example 4. 3 is frequency is 4. Frequency means ये 3 कितने बार आया है, 3 4 बार आया है, बन गया ये. So this is frequency. Frequency is number of times an item occurs in a series. Next is class. क्या होता है? Class क्या होता है? What is class? तो class क्या होता है? ये लिख लिया. Number of times an item occurs in a series is called frequency. In other words, the number of times a value is repeated in the population or in the series is called a frequency. दूसरा हमारा है, दूसरी टर्म हमारी है जो बार बार हमें जरूरत आती है. What is class? What is class? What is class? What is class? A range of values which possess a set of items is called a class. A range of values, a range of which possess a set of items. A set of items is called a class. Is called a class. Every class have two limits. Class दिखाता है range of values from this to this, which possess a set of items. A range of values, range of values. यहां से यहां तक values है जो possess करता है, जिसमें है a set of items, a number of items. Every class has two limits, upper limit, and every class has two limits, that is upper limit and lower. Upper limit and lower limit. Upper limit. Every class has two limits, upper limit and lower limit. For example, किस तरह class बनता है? We have a class, for example, 0 to 5. So this is range of values. From 0 to 5, all the values between 0 and 5. From 0 to 5, all the values. From 5 to 10. इसी तरह from 10 to 15, etc. So what is class? Class is a range of values which possess a set of items. A range of values which possess a set of items is called a class. A class has two limits, lower limit and upper limit. So this is all about the types of series, and we can say types of series and frequency and class. Then we have the next term, probably हम ये कल डिस्कस करेंगे. We will discuss it tomorrow. What is midpoint and types of frequency distribution. जो हमने 3 सीरीज पढ़े हैं, इंडिविजुअल सीरीज, डिस्क्रीट सीरीज एंड कंटिन्यूअस सीरीज. जो कंटिन्यूअस सीरीज है इसके टाइप्स हम पढ़ेंगे. इस इंडिविजुअल सीरीज और डिस्क्रीट सीरीज के टाइप्स नहीं है, कंटिन्यूअस सीरीज के टाइप्स है. इस तरह हमने स्टार्ट किया है सीरीज. पहले सीरीज होता है, इसके 3 टाइप्स है, इंडिविजुअल, डिस्क्रीट एंड कंटिन्यूअस. अब कंटिन्यूअस सीरीज के कितने टाइप्स है वो हम कल पढ़ेंगे. टाइप्स ऑफ कंटिन्यूअस सीरीज और फ्रीक्वेंसी डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन सीरीज. So this is all about today. Hope that you understand. Okay. कोई शक? Any doubt?